morning, good morning. Welcome back to day 2. You're all looking bright-eyed and bushy-tailed this morning. You know, one of the things I love most about coming to events just like this one is it forces me to have a chance to zoom out and look at the business in a way that we don't get to every day. And I know for me, it really connects me back to why we do what we do every day. And of course, there's also those great opportunities to learn and to take things home when we get home. So this morning, I'm going to ask you to come along with me as we meet some really interesting folks as we spend the entire morning talking about our most valuable asset, which is, of course, our people. Now, I guarantee you are going to leave this morning with at least one great idea to take home. Ready? For at least one. And let's get started with our zoom out. Okay, you probably noticed we're going to use that poll everywhere software, right? So grab your phones. Here's your chance, the only time you actually get to use your phone officially in a session, right? So if you haven't already done it, please text Subway 19 to 37607. And you're all looking very good. You're all looking very serious. You've already done this. Okay, so first question. Are you ready? Let's learn a little bit about who's actually in the audience with us this morning. So please text A if you own one or more Subway restaurants in North America. And in Subway geography, that means the US and Canada. Please text B if you own a Subway restaurant internationally. C if you are a very proud sandwich artist or restaurant manager. Or D if you are a BDA staff member. Got it? Ooh, good, good, good. Oh, I see some hands waving back there. Okay, look good? Let's close out that polling now. Let's have a look and see who we got in the audience with us. Ooh, pretty good, right? Look at that. Look how many are beautiful sandwich artists and managers. I'm really excited that you guys are here. Please give them a round of applause. Okay, so here's the reality of our world. In North America, there's actually more jobs available than there are people to fill them. So let's do that again. There are more jobs available than there are people to fill them. It's a little scary, right? So obviously that idea that technology was going to take all the jobs, well, that hasn't happened. And in fact, this is a restaurant in San Francisco who proudly makes all of their burgers by robot. That's so not us. It's really not us. And then honestly, I look at that tube of tomatoes, and I think about that time of year when they're kind of like soup with the skin around them. You throw them in there, splash, splash, yeah. So, you know, that's not us. And the fact is, technology is great, and it will transform our business, and it will transform how we do business. But we're still going to rely on human beings to operate that technology. So in fact, if you ask, the skills that employers are really looking for are those people skills, those soft skills, that ability to work collaboratively, effectively communicate, and to solve problems. Those ones that technology can't do for us. Now, at the same time, our traditional pool of where we pull employees from is shrinking. So the folks that would traditionally work for us, they can now go, drive Uber, or they might have a side hustle. And in fact, in a world where you can make money doing reaction videos on YouTube, everyone has a side hustle. I don't get it. How do you make money doing reaction videos on YouTube? Anyway, so my side hustle for today is to get you to do some more polling. So I've got a few more questions for you, so grab your phones. First one, what's the main reason that people leave a job? What do you think it is? Is it A, to make money? B, because they don't get along with their boss? C, there's no opportunity to learn and grow? Or D, they return to school? What do you think? What's the main reason folks leave a job? I don't know, some good choices up there, right? And we're going to use the responses to this one and a few of our other questions as we go through the morning. So thank you very much for giving us your thoughts. All right, it's looking pretty good. All right, can we close that polling and we'll put the results up? Pretty good, right? Look at that. Look at that. The group thinks that the main reason folks leave a job is that there's no opportunity to learn and grow. This is a smart crowd. A very, very smart crowd. Okay, ready? Next question. What's the most difficult part of your staffing program? Is it finding people that fit? Is it training people to deliver that great guest experience? Text that C if keeping people longer than 3 months is your biggest problem. What's the thing that's driving you the most crazy? Oh, this one's coming in fast. I get a little preview down here, and I can tell you it's coming in fast. Oh, it's good. Oh, it's good. I think you guys have I think this is a pretty smart crowd. Okay, let's have a look at what you said. Look at that. Training people to deliver guest experience seems to be the #1 big problem. Now that's really helpful, and we'll use that as we get through today. And finding people's coming in at #2. Okay, fantastic. All right, ready? Last question. Ready? This is where we're looking for your thoughts, your words of wisdom, and we're going to build one of those really cool word clouds. Ready? What is your secret sauce for finding and keeping great people? And this is a word cloud, so it's better if it's one word or 2 words that are typed together with no spaces. And I know, just from what you've said already with some of these ones, that this is a pretty smart group, and I can't wait to see what ideas you've got. Yep, keep them coming. Keep them coming, I love it. Ooh, I see I'm getting a little preview up here, so I can see some very cool things happening. I also know that you guys are word cloud experts by now. It is very, very, ooh, I like it. All right. I think we have some genius ideas up here, so let's close that out and let's show the world what your word cloud looks like. I love it. I love it. Okay, so you see some big things in there. You see training, respect, appreciation, and even a couple of these, right? Whoever did the emoji, that was very clever. Appreciation, training. You know what, I got to tell you, I kind of love those words. What you're not actually seeing in there is something like money, some of those other things. And if we flip to the next slide, what you're going to see is the #1 reason that folks leave a job, this is what the research is telling us. It's not because of money. It's because they don't have the ability to grow and learn. And if I think about it, you guys picked that one 2 questions ago. Nice. Very talented. In a market where there are more jobs than people, employees can be really selective about where they go, right? So it's not just about the money. It really is about what are those extra experiences and extra skills I'm going to build when I go to work for you or when I choose you as my employer. It really is all about that. So, what's a small or not so small business owner to do about this? And I'm really glad you asked that, even though you didn't know you asked it. We're going to spend the entire morning digging into just that. And I know that what you're going to hear today is going to spark some conversations, probably over lunch, or where all good conversations happen, in line at the bar. That's where they all happen. And later on this morning, we're going to hear from a group of folks from right across the business who do this and live this every day. First up, though, I am really excited to introduce you to today's keynote speaker, Michelle Falcon. Now, Michelle is a best-selling author. He's an entrepreneur and a speaker. And I'm going to read this part. I'm going to get it wrong if I don't do it. And he specializes in leveraging customer experience, employee engagement, and company culture strategies to grow businesses. Sound good? All right. Please welcome Michelle Falcon.
Good morning, everyone. Oh, come on, Subway. I expected a better response than that. All right, this is how we're going to do it. Thank you. This is how we're going to do it, though. We're going to do it better than that time, too. I slept a lot last night, so I'm good. I'm fresh. My energy's through the roof. I've got the latest and greatest content that I'm going to share with you, but you need to meet me halfway. You need to match my energy. We're going to go back and forth for the entire time that we got together. So when I say good morning again, I want you to do one of a few things. Perhaps you shout good morning back to me like I expected you to do the first time. Maybe you get up off your chair and you jump up and down and shout good morning, or maybe you look to the person next to you and give them a big hug, and in unison you say good morning. Do something, because I want every employee in the Metro Toronto Convention Center to hear us. I know the BDAs aren't in the room, so I kind of want to make them feel a little jealous that they're not in the room either. So I want this huge uproar, because that's going to get me super jacked up. So with that all being said, good morning. That's how you start a keynote. Michelle Danello, a few months ago, your VP of PR and Communications, contacted me and said, we're considering you for our keynote. And I said, well, she didn't know that I was not going to allow her not to pick me, because I was like, I want this badly. And she actually called my bluff. I said, I will come to Connecticut tomorrow. And she said, sure, come. I was like, oh, whoa, okay. She took me up on the offer. I better get on a flight. 2 days later, I was meeting with her and some of her peers. And the reason I wanted this so badly was because you and I are the same. We own and we manage restaurants. Employee engagement, employee retention is mission critical for us. Customer experience isn't a nice to have. It's mandatory for us, not just to be product-centric, but to be people-centric and beat our competition. And company culture is the bedrock of every single great brand that we admire, not just as professionals, but as consumers as well. What I'm going to share with you today is something that I wrote a book about last year called The People First Culture. It's the philosophy that I've built my company on. I'm going to introduce you to something I call the 3P strategy. It works. I'm going to share how my business partners and I have been able to achieve an employee retention rate 2.5 times higher than the industry average. You guys have been in Toronto for a couple days. There's restaurants everywhere. I'm surrounded by my competitors. I'm going to share how we recruit, how we interview. I'm going to introduce you to something called the Employee Muse. What type of interview questions do we ask? How do we onboard people? And then I'm going to introduce you to something called the Micro Customer Experience Program that every single franchise owner in this room could afford to do to create great experiences for your employees, who in turn create great guest experiences for your team. Does that sound good? There you go. In 2008, I started my career working for an organization that you might be familiar with. It gave me a franchise background. I worked for a company called 1-800-GOT-JUNK. Probably the least sexy industry that you could ever think of. I spent 5 years there. In the first year that I was there, I recognized that company culture, employee engagement, and customer experience were going to be my topics that I built my career on. Started off in the call center, worked my way up. Eventually, I worked on the operations management side of the company. I was in my early to mid-20s, reporting into the VP of operations. It was there that we deployed and managed our Net Promoter Score program. It was there that we created customer-centric learning material for our learning and development programs for all frontline employees, truck team members, call center agents. It was there that we created customer retention strategies and much, much more. When you see the blue trucks on the road now after this keynote, I want you to think of how sophisticated the company is. It's a junk removal company. And I've worked with some of the biggest brands in the world, and to this day, I'll say that organization has some of the most sophisticated operational processes I've ever seen. After 5 years in 2012, I ventured off on my own to start an advisory firm. I was going to help companies on those 3 topics. I started off with little organizations. I would work with anybody that would give me a check that didn't bounce. My office was my parents' kitchen table at 2892 Mount Seymour Parkway in North Vancouver. Humble beginnings. But then one day I got a call from a gentleman named Troy Fairchild. He was the vice president of retail operations at Verizon Wireless. I went from $1 million company to a $100 billion company, and I didn't know how to write an invoice or submit a proposal or anything. I was like, I better figure this out. So, I was like, is there like a proposal for dummies book? There wasn't. There isn't. Then Alfa Romeo, Electronic Arts, Blue Cross Blue Shield. Those are the companies that I was helping improve the relationships that they had with their customers and their employees. In 2016, I got another phone call. I was from my friend Brandon, and he said, I'm about to open a restaurant, a venue in Toronto on King Street, the most competitive street in Toronto for hospitality. It's going to be 4 floors. Our feasibility study says we're going to do $12 million a year in sales on year 1. We're going to need 100 employees. And for me, I like solving big challenges. I said, that sounds like a huge challenge. I'm in. So 3 months turned into 6 months. 6 months turned into, do you want to be our business partner? We have other venues we want to open. In 2 years, we've gone from 0 employees and $0 in revenue to 170 employees and over $15 million a year in profitable revenue. The reason that I share that with you is because regardless of whether you're in junk removal, restaurants, hospitality, telecom, automotive, the thing that we share as benevolent and servant leaders, we must manage the expectations and behaviors of people. Period, full stop. Everything stems from that. That's what we're going to talk about today. And I have dinner plans tonight at 8 p.m. And the reason I share that with you is because I will cancel it, because I will not leave this building until I answer every single one of your questions. So to my girlfriend in the audience, I may need to cancel on you, but she'll understand. I'm doing a book signing this afternoon. I would love to meet you guys. Any questions you guys have, I don't want you to forget, jot it down in your phone, and let's go. In preparation for writing my book, I sat on this thought. Why is it that most companies fall short of becoming admired? So I coined something that I call the people-first culture, and on the surface, it sounds very simple to understand. The people-first culture, by definition, is building a business that your customers and employees will admire. Sounds simple, right? I don't know anybody that wouldn't want to build that type of business, but then again, I ask you, why is it that most companies fall short of actually being admired by customers, employees, and communities? So I sat and I thought for months, what is it that makes some companies succeed and others fall short? I traveled the world speaking to companies of all sizes, all industries, and then eventually I created something for my business that I call the 3P strategy. It's what allows companies to be people-centric and have a people-first culture. Because every company on this planet wants a high-performing team who has engagement, who deliver great experiences. I don't think anybody would say that's not for me. But it's the people-first culture leveraged by the 3P strategy that allows you to build an authentic, admired organization. So our responsibility as servant and benevolent leaders in our restaurants and in our businesses is to recruit, interview, and onboard a high-performing team. Then we must understand the purpose of 3 key entities. What is the purpose of our company? What is the purpose of our guests? And what is our purpose as a team and as individuals, not as workers? Once you can create alignment behind those 3 purposes, you're going to achieve authentic engagement in your workplace. That's when employees don't show up late. They don't call in sick. They help you manage your labor. They help you manage your food cost. And these are the things that I'm experiencing in my business by leveraging the people-first culture and the 3P strategy. Once you've achieved that engagement, now is the optimum time to create processes in your business. These processes should be built to enrich the lives of your customers, your guests, your communities, and your team members. Often companies do it incorrectly. They'll go out and build this new campaign, this new strategy, or this new process, and on paper, it seems fantastic. It's gonna win, we're gonna all put feathers in our hats because it brought such great value to the business. Then they deployed that process and it fell short of their expectation. The reason it fell short of their expectation is because they deployed the program too early. They neglected to ensure that the team that was responsible for pushing the program forward was engaged. You need the engagement first, then the process, and then as benevolent and servant leaders, we can do this. We take a step back and we allow great people to do great work. because the outcome of that is a guest experience that your customers have never seen before. That is the pivotal time where you beat your competition. My nutritionist says I'm allowed to eat your product. There's very few restaurants that my nutritionist will allow me to eat at. But he said, Subway's good. You can eat Subway. I'm there 4 or 5 times a week. That is not an extension of the truth. I'm not just saying that because I know who my audience is. But you can't just be product-centric. Samsung is just product-centric. Their competitor, Apple, is product and people-centric. When's the last time somebody ran up to you and said, oh, is it Craig? Craig, has anybody ever run up to you and said, you need to go buy a Samsung device because their in-store experience is so good? Nobody has ever said that, ever. But what people have said is talked about Apple's retail experience. Product-centric, people-centric. They have to live in harmony together. From this day forward, whether it's I live a career in hospitality for the next 4 decades or I do something else, I know that I need to start with purpose. And I mentioned that purpose has to identify around what is the purpose of the company, what is the purpose of guests, and what is the purpose of your team as individuals. I want you to pretend that you just hired me as your newest sandwich artist, and I asked you a very loaded question. What is the purpose of Subway? I understand yesterday you had this conversation. You guys are on the right track. Your purpose must be the company's North Star, the guiding light. And pardon me if that sounds a bit like a platitude, but it's true. You have to create strict alignment behind the purpose of the company. And it can't just be to feed people. It has to be deeper than that. It has to resonate with me more as a guest. If you came to our flagship location, Borrow, what you're looking at here is the inside of our apron that our face of house, which is our front of house employees wear. Our chefs wear jackets, and they have this stitched on the inside of their jacket as well too. What you're looking at here is our purpose. It's embedded within the mission of our company. And our mission at Borrow is simple: to consistently deliver seamless experiences, period. Not to consistently deliver seamless experiences to our customers. I omitted that part because I want everyone who interacts with our brand, whether it's in person, on the phone, via email, on social media, I want everyone to be delivered a seamless experience, whether they pay us or we pay them. The company that sells us uniforms get the exact same high quality experience as the man and woman that order that $200 bottle of wine. My VP of Finance is trained on this just as well as our newest hostess, because we're creating alignment behind the purpose of the company. And my expectation is that every single one of my employees at a drop of a hat can mention our 5 core values and recite them. And I'll do this without looking at the screen. Celebration, ownership, foresight, integrity, humility. That's exactly what I want to hear from my team. So when you go out and build your purpose for the company, that's the same militant alignment that you need to have. And it's not to create militant leaders. It's to create that alignment to ensure that everybody knows what the purpose of the company is. And it's not just to make sandwiches in the fastest amount of time possible. What is the purpose of your guests? My first role at 1-800-GOT-JUNK was a call center agent. My start time was 4 a.m. I don't wish that on my worst enemy, right? 4 a.m. in the summer, which meant I had to wake up at 3:15 in the morning, which meant I had to go to bed at like 6 p.m. in the summer. That's really hard and awkward to do. I sat in this chair, and I answered 100 phone calls a day, and I recognized that when that customer calls in from Tallahassee, Florida, and the next customer calls in from Melbourne, Australia, and the next from Toronto, Ontario, I can't deliver the same experience to every single customer, because what makes one customer tick might tick off the next customer. So I started documenting all these notes, pages and pages of notes of behaviors and attributes of these customers. What was making them tick? What was ticking them off? And eventually I created something that I call the 3 common customer personality types. I can tell you now that Alfa Romeo, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and Lush Cosmetics, and some other brands have now adopted this education in their learning and development program. I don't know her personally, but I would classify Ellen DeGeneres as a socializer customer personality type. Long-winded conversations, very enthusiastic, more often than not off topic. This is the customer that shows up at your restaurant, and when somebody should ordinarily be telling you what type of bread they want, they're talking about their dog or the Toronto Raptors. And your sandwich artist is like, oh dear God, it's 12:17, it's high traffic, there's a queue of people lining up the door. How do I get out of this conversation without being rude and offending this person? Because I'm biting the inside of my cheek and it's starting to hurt. I really need her to kind of shut up. But I can't say that. We have to coach our team members on how to go from here to here and get them focused on the task at hand without offending them or being rude. What I like about this personality type is that they're open to recommendations because they're very trusting. So if you have a high product or a high profit margin item like cookies, sell to this personality type. If you have a new sandwich that you're trying to promote, recommend. They're more likely to convert. I don't know him personally, but I've seen his movies. Don't even dare ask this person what they feel about Kawhi Leonard leaving the Toronto Raptors. Don't talk about the weather. What's good about doing business with this person is they know what they want, how they want it, when they want it. I'm this customer, and this is how I order from your stores. I walk in, I go, I know where to go. 12-inch turkey sub, 9-grain wheat, toasted for 15 seconds, no cheese. Move along the line. Lettuce, cucumbers, no, I don't like tomatoes, bell peppers, banana peppers, your new honey hot mustard that you guys have, at least here in Canada, Parmesan cheese, salt and pepper. Yes, I'll take you up on 3 cookies. Yes, I will get chips. Yes, I will get a fountain drink. Paying by debit. That's your great customer, right? I'm the director. Look, I'm here to get something to eat. I'm not an ass, but I don't really care to talk about the Toronto Raptors. I'll do that with somebody else, right? Just let me do me, right? I want a transactional relationship with your company. I think we've done our team members and our companies disservices by saying you should never have a transactional relationship with your customer. According to who? I'm telling you I want a transactional relationship with you, right? Because I'm in and out of your stores. I don't have that much time. Let me be me. The passive personality type could be defined like this. If you've ever asked somebody, how's your day going? And they respond with, good, and don't follow up with, and how's your day going, like most people would. A lot of companies say this customer personality type is boring, they lack enthusiasm, I don't like doing business with them, they don't exhibit a lot of they don't share a lot of information, it's hard to do business with them. I caution you though, they have a guard up for a reason. They probably don't trust your company because of a bad experience before. They went to a Subway on the east side of Toronto, got a bad experience. They now happen to be on the west side of Toronto, and they're remembering that experience that they got in the east side, and they're expecting another bad one. So they're guarded. What I like about this personality type, though, is that if you can help bring down that barrier, they can be some of your most loyal customers because they are so misunderstood as consumers, and companies have been writing them off for years. I find this the most challenging personality type. When you think about your learning development programs, and I had a great conversation with one of your learning and development executives around learning and development and content, and I know this to be true. You guys have the content. Now I'm going to switch gears and speak to you from my franchise background. Be brilliant at the basics. I know that this is a slogan of yours, and when I heard it, I was like, damn, why didn't I think of that? Like that's tattoo worthy. Be brilliant at the basics, right? You guys got the learning development. As servant leaders and benevolent leaders of your restaurants, you guys got to make sure that you keep giving this content to your team. That's on you. Head office is giving it to you. That's now on you and on me to execute. What is the purpose of your team? I have 5 people that report into me. I know what their purpose is in their career intimately, as individuals, not as workers, as human beings. I want you to think about your restaurants and the people that report into you directly. Do you know what they really want to do with their career? Do you have an intimate understanding of what that is and their timeline? Food and Wine magazine is the Bible of hospitality, and we were so fortunate to be they wrote about us. And in 2017, the first time they wrote about us, they wanted to know how we've achieved this high employee retention. So I talked to her about purpose on the individual level, and she kept probing at go deeper, go deeper, go deeper. And I said, let me give you some examples. I want to introduce you to Kenroy Ricketts. Kenroy interviewed with me 2 years ago. He was applying to be a floor manager, which is like a junior manager in our world. And he knocked the interview out of the park. And just before I hired him, I asked him, what's your purpose in your career? What's your definition of success, and what's your timeline? And he said, I want to be a general manager of your hospitality company one day. Okay, let's do that. If Kenroy doesn't become a general manager, that's a loss on me. I have to take that L. His purpose becomes my purpose, because that is what benevolent and servant leaders are willing to do. Put others before them. I will achieve my goals if I can help Kenroy achieve his. He is now an assistant general manager, so he's been promoted already, and he is next in line to be our general manager of another venue that we open. So he's going to get there. But then there's also another person, and his name is Riley Cox. I don't need to tell you that Riley is handsome and very muscular. So handsome and so muscular that I get nervous when my girlfriend talks to him for longer than a minute. I'm like, hey, break it up, you two. Like, you over there, you over there. He's also wicked smart. A couple months ago, he graduated, and get this, with a master's in biotech. He's brilliant. He's also one of our top 5 bartenders in our system. He's extraordinarily valuable to our company. But his purpose isn't to grow in hospitality. He's doing this for money, right? He graduated 2 months ago. He's going to work with us for the summer, make a lot of money, and then he's going to leave. If Riley is still with us by October, that's a huge loss for me, because I haven't helped him achieve his purpose, which is to work for a cannabis company or a biotech company on the business development side of that business. That's how much I know about what his purpose is. I've asked him, do you want to relocate? Because I now have to become his recruiter. I'm scouring my LinkedIn, trying to identify who do I know in the cannabis space, who do I know in the biotech space. Because this is going to be a very celebratory moment in our company when he leaves. Employee retention does matter, but I'll have a little subnote and say, but it also doesn't. Like in cases like this, I want him to leave. Celebration is one of our core values. We're going to celebrate when he leaves, on good terms, of course. So I want you to think about yourself as a leader. Do you have an intimate understanding of what your team members want to do? Do your managers in your restaurant know that as well too? And then I just call this layering. Each layer must know what the next layer wants to do in their career and get them there. I recognize that in your industry, you may have some people that work with you just for summer employment for 3 or 4 months or so. You should still give them the same attention as you would somebody that's going to stay with you for 4 years. Because that's what admired companies are willing to do. Once you've understood the purpose of those 3 entities, your company, your guests, and your customers, you're going to achieve high engagement. People aren't going to show up late. They're not going to quit on you and make your lives difficult and many other good things. Now you build the process. Now is the optimum time to do so. If I was to take you through all 20 of our operational processes, Michelle would be very upset with me because we would be here until tomorrow morning. So I can't do that, but what I can do is if you're interested in receiving this slide deck, I'm going to share my email address at the end of the presentation on the slide. Email me from your phone, quick message, say give me the deck, and I'll send it to you so you guys can go through it. I'm going to take you through 5 that I believe will be most relevant for you right now. One thing I didn't tell you is that when I moved to Toronto from Vancouver, I needed to recruit 100 people, but I had to do it in 30 days. And we didn't just hire anybody that had a pulse. Some companies will, reach out to me via my website or through Twitter and say, how do I improve your employee retention or improve my employee retention? And more often than not, I look at the interview process first. Some companies are like, hey, do you like sports? Yeah, I like sports. You're hired, right? Like, do you have a pulse? You're hired, right? And you wonder why your employee retention is not what you want it to be. Going into this, I knew that hospitality had an awful reputation for employee turnover. And we needed to hire 100 people in 30 days, so it was all hands on deck. It couldn't just be me. I needed to train and coach our managers to be able to interview and recruit successfully if we were going to do this together, because the numbers would have beat me if it was just me doing it. So I knew I needed to paint a picture for them of what that looked like. What does the ideal candidate look like? So I created something that I now call the employee muse that I shared with them. And I'm only going to read out the first paragraph, but again, if you want the slide deck, just email me after. Our face-of-house team will consist of a mix of men and women who primarily live downtown with a look that shows their personality, energy, and commitment to self. Most will have a previous experience from a recognizable restaurant that locals respect and recognize, or a professional retail environment. We eagerly welcome people who understand how to sell and how important the customer experience is to our success. And it goes on. I created this, I sat in front of a whiteboard with a marker and I started just writing down traits and behaviors that I wanted in our team members. I didn't want people to show up late. And I'm tired of hearing people say, well, I missed the bus. Okay, well, I want to recruit people that live in the downtown area so they can walk to the venues. So you'll notice we put that in the first sentence. I hired a copywriter that's a much better wordsmith than me to be able to take all my notes and flesh it out into a document like this. Then I handed it all to our managers and I said, this is who we're gunning for with our front of house employees. Then we started the interview process, and I knew that I wanted to build a rigorous interview process. I wanted people to tap out and say, I don't want to work here. This seems too hard for me. Because I'm trying to squeeze them out at the beginning. I'm trying to get them to show me how hard are they willing to work just to get the job. I'm not going to be able to take you through every step of the interview process, but I'm going to take you through the most important part, and that's the reason why it's in a different color, and that's the culture interview. I do not care if the person sitting in front of me who's trying to become our VP of Finance used to work at McKinsey or Accenture or one of those big consulting firms. I don't care if the woman sitting in front of me just won Toronto's Best Cocktail Award. I don't care if the chef in front of me who's about to host an interview was on Top Chef Canada and won. I don't care about skill set until I know if they're going to fit within our 5 core values and the mission and our purpose of the company. If they do not pass the culture interview, I don't even ask them one question around skill set. I exit them right away. If they do pass, then they move forward. During the culture interview, we ask 2 questions per core value that we have, making up 10 questions. It's hard to fake it over 10 questions. There's some people that are professional interviewers. They're so good. You hire them, and then it's like a Jekyll and Hyde moment. You're like, what happened to the person that I interviewed? You are not that person. 2 interview questions per core value. One of our core values is celebration. I want to understand, is this person celebratory? Because in our business, we celebrate each other and we celebrate our guests. So we'll ask a question like this: when's the last time you hosted a dinner party or some sort of celebration for someone's birthday? Or when's the last time somebody hosted one for you? How did that make you feel? And allow them to explain how that made them feel or how they prepared for that event. There's one interview question that we ask everyone on our payroll as well too, whether it's a VP of finance or a dishwasher. And I want you to think, how would you answer this? The question goes like this: what is an indulgence that you cannot live without that costs less than $20? Mine's pepperoni pizza. What's your answer? What is an indulgence that you can't live without that costs less than $20? Your CEO, Trevor, might be in the room, so keep it legal. Weed is not legal in all states and provinces. I'm going to ask you what your answers are in a moment, but just remember, keep it legal. Your executive team's here. I don't want the FDD to come out of their back pocket and you guys get your franchise taken away. Once you've identified who you're going to hire, now the next step happens, and that's onboarding. A lot of companies treat onboarding in a very transactional manner. This is pivotal for you to deliver a great experience to your guests. Onboarding's three things for me. It's technical. This is where you get their email address or emergency contact name and telephone number and things like that. The minutia, if you will. The second part is the emotional. This point, mission critical. You are about to ask this new team member to give themselves to your guests, to be efficient, create memorable experiences. Shame on us if we don't do it to them first. And the optimum time to do it is in the first hour of employment with your company. What is an indulgence that you can't live without that costs less than $20? This is how we're going to do this. I need 3 people to give me their answers. I don't have a whole lot of time to convince you, so who are the first 3 people that are going to shoot their hands up? 1, 2. Actually, I need them up here. I'm so sorry, just because it's going to take me a little while to run back there. 1. What's your answer? Wine. What type of wine? Red wine, white wine? Red, what type of grape? Riesling. That's white. No. Yeah, it is. No. Cab Sauv. What region? Argentina, Cab Sauv, red wine. Okay, next person. I'm going to pick. Okay, here you go. Thank you. Dunkin' Donuts tea. Any type of brew? No, just Dunkin' Donuts tea. Okay? Yes, thank you. What's your answer? Going to the movies. Okay, fantastic. Is there a local movie theater that you prefer over others? Fantastic. So congratulations, you guys all made my rigorous interview process. You passed. And what do you think is at your workstation waiting for you during onboarding on day 1? This is the first thing that we're going to give you. Why do we do that? It's not just for the warm and fuzzies. You're going to get your red Cab Sauv, you're going to get your Dunkin' Donuts tea, and you're going to get movie passes to the movie theaters. I need to create an experience for you guys that you've never seen before, because now I've earned the permission to ask you to do that for our guests. I have about 100 companies that have ripped off the $20 question, and I'm fine with that because it works. This is an experience they've never seen before. They're going to go home and talk to their spouses, their children, and be like, I might work for the best company I've ever worked for in my life. But think about this. You're just about to go into training. I need your engagement to be really high during training, because the likelihood that it influences high knowledge retention goes through the roof. So when you're done your training, you become an exceptional sandwich artist, and I did that through $20. Not to mention, it's also kind of fun if you hire multiple people at the same time, and they're like, hey, what'd you get? What'd you get? I've seen it all. Red Skittles, Doritos, like Cool Ranch Doritos. I've seen it all. Just make sure that you use the word indulgence, not what's something you can't live without that costs less than $20, because it's going to be really weird if you're giving people toilet paper, right? Like, indulgence is the key word. Now we need to start learning. You've engaged them. I don't know Richard Branson personally, but I'm a student of business, and he's one of my favorite entrepreneurs. He's benevolent, he's a servant leader, and he invests in learning and development for his companies. And he says brilliant things like this: train people well enough so that they can leave, treat them well enough so they don't want to. I have hostesses that will speak to more customers in one evening than I will in an entire month or an entire quarter. Why should I get the lion's share of the development? It's them. They're the ones creating the experiences, not me. I'm tired of talking to people and asking, like, when they ask me, what's the ROI of learning and development? I'm like, I don't know. What's the ROI of putting your child through Kumon or getting a tutor? You want them to succeed. I'm on a crusade to bridge the gap between the relationships we have in our personal life as we do in our professional life. If it makes sense to put our children in swimming lessons and in Kumon because we care about them and we want them to be successful as individuals, why can't we take that same mentality into the people in our business? Some of the things that we train our team members on is, what's the difference between customer service and customer experience? There's a difference. We train them on the 3 customer personality types. What does service endurance mean? What does organic growth mean? And much, much more. They need to have premium education. Now that you've built processes, you're going to deliver an experience to your customers that they've never seen before. Profit comes next. Profit is a reward of your people-first culture efforts. Profit is a reward of your people-first culture efforts. And one of the outcomes is creating micro customer experiences. This is something that I coined and I outlined in my book. It's a subtle, memorable, and affordable gesture you do for your customers that resonates with them for years. I believe that this would outperform any marketing campaign because it's so authentic. I want to introduce you to one of our team members. And this is Alyssa. Her passion and her purpose is to sing. Her and her boyfriend sing at events, at weddings, at conferences. And one day she's going to leave my company. My responsibility is to make sure our management team gives her a schedule that suits her purpose so she can go sing when she needs to. This is the agreement. She brings her whole self to work and delivers a great experience. We're going to try to help her achieve her purpose, and I would love for her one day in a year, she's not even working with us because she's living her purpose and singing. And it would be great to say, you know, we had a role in that. And she had a role in building our businesses. What you're looking at here is one day a group of ladies come in for brunch. And Alyssa took the education she received in our learning and development program, and she listened and took action on what she heard and what she saw to create an experience for our customers that they had never seen before. Alyssa learned that the reason that these ladies were together for brunch was one of them was about to have a child in the next month or 2. The ladies were here to celebrate. Celebration is one of our core values. Let's celebrate with them. Alyssa takes that customer intelligence of one of the women about to give birth, runs to our hostess, says, I have a micro customer experience opportunity. Here's the deal. The hostess runs across the street to the Shoppers Drug Mart, which is the CVS or Walgreens equivalent in Canada, buys a box of diapers, a hand rattle, wrapping paper, comes back, writes a handwritten card, wraps the gift, gives it to Alyssa in time to present the customer with this gift. That is an experience that that customer has never seen before. The economics behind the profitability of this is organic growth. We have given those customers a story to tell. A lot of people say, Michelle, how do you get people to share stories about your company? Do things worth talking about. Building a good sandwich is good. You got to do more than that. That's what elevates you to the next level. Those ladies will come back and spend more money. That's profitable revenue because the cost of acquisition is nothing. We already paid for the cost of acquisition the first time. They're going to refer people. They vote as 10 on NPS, positive Google reviews, many great things. Blogto.com, a very popular website here in Toronto, wrote about this story. That's free PR. We did this through diapers. Am I telling you to go back to your stores in droves and be like, hey, I heard this speaker in Toronto and he told us to buy diapers for our customers? No, you completely missed the point. What I am recommending you do is go back to your team and ensure that they are listening and taking action on what they see and what they hear. When I come into your restaurants, I always have a gym bag on me, and I'm in athletic wear, and I'm usually covered in sweat because I always go to the gym, and then we'll go to your restaurant to have my 12-inch turkey sub, no cheese, 15 seconds toasted, and so forth. I'm a creature of habit, by the way. If one of your sandwich artists says, hey, I noticed that you always have a gym bag on you. Do you go to the gym? I'd be like, yeah, I go to the gym around the block. And if your sandwich artist was like, yeah, you look really strong, I would be like, whoa. How'd you know I was an egomaniac? Tell me more. I would give you $40 for that $10 sub if you made me feel that good. Maybe you don't have to go that far, right? But if you see me come again and again and again, build rapport from that. And I understand you can't have long-winded conversations, but maybe if it's during your downtime, you can. There's one thing that we cannot neglect to recognize when we build these type of companies. When we allow our team members to do these things, how does this make our team members feel when you allow them to do great things like this? Actually, you know what? I'm not the right person to tell you how that makes them feel. Because after all, I'm not the one making them feel this way. I'm the guy behind the scenes. Customers don't know who I am. Do you remember at the beginning of the talk when I had you make a lot of noise? I'm going to ask you to do it again. Because there's only one person that should be replacing me right now to talk about that. So please help me in welcoming Alyssa Morrissey to the stage. Got this?
Hello there, everybody. I'm Alyssa. And as Michelle was saying earlier in his presentation, that one day I will leave his company to pursue my purpose and passion in music and performing. But while we do work together, him and I do have a simple understanding. He supports me as an individual and not just a worker. And in return, I deliver great experiences to our company's guests every single day. So we're growing the company together as one team. So if you'd like your team to do the same, try focusing on serving your employees' individual purposes. Trust them, and be the leaders that they always wish they had. Thank you.
Alyssa, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Before I let you go, I need this audience to know that I'm not full of BS. What are our 5 core values?
Celebration, ownership, integrity, foresight, and humility.
You got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
I'm extraordinarily irrelevant to my company because my customers don't know who I am. I could be hit by a bus tomorrow. I could go on a 6-month kumbaya trip where I feel like I don't want to work. I could remove myself from the business for long periods of time. And my customers aren't going to be like, where's Michelle? Because I'm not the one building relationships with the guests every single day. And perhaps you might feel the same way too. So it's genuinely our team members, our sandwich artists, that are the individuals that we must prop up and remove ourselves from the equation. Make sure that they have everything they need to be successful, but then just get out of their way. If you feel like you need to intervene, then perhaps this might resonate with you. People don't fail, processes do. People don't fail, processes do. So if Joey or Samantha aren't getting it, maybe it's your interview process that failed your restaurant. How did they get hired in the first place? We should have stopped them at the door and said, go work at the competitor. Please ruin their business, not mine. Maybe if they should be in your business but they're not getting it, maybe the learning and development process isn't sticking. Maybe you haven't taken the education that head office has provided for you, and maybe you're not habitually growing your team, and that's why the people are failing. If you want to build a people-first culture, I highly recommend doing it this way. You recruit, you interview, and you onboard a high-performing team, and you understand the purpose of 3 entities. What is the purpose of our company? What is the purpose of our guests? And what is the purpose of our team members as individuals, not as workers? Because of that, you're going to achieve this great engagement, and quite frankly, it's going to make your lives easier if your team members are more engaged. Not only that, it's going to make your restaurants more profitable as well, too. Because they're not going to be putting on 7 tomatoes when they should be putting on 4? 5? Okay, I'm new to this. Now you can start building processes that will stick and enrich the lives of your customers, your employees, and your communities. The outcome of that is a great customer experience. And now you are treated with your reward, and that's profitability. However, which way you want to define profitability. Is it through dollars and cents? I'm a very profit-driven entrepreneur. Yes, it better be. Maybe you can profit by having free PR, word-of-mouth marketing, and all these great things. Every company on this planet is going to tell you that they deliver a great customer experience. Some companies will say that they also deliver a great employee experience. But the fact of the matter is, only a few companies actually do both exceptionally. If you're interested in doing both well, year over year, decade over decade, I highly recommend implementing the people-first culture and thriving together. Thank you very much for your time this morning.
Yeah. Can we throw Michelle's email address back up on the slide, please, and thank you. Thank you, everybody, for, please thank Michelle, and particularly, look at that, and particularly Alyssa.
That's my email address, as promised. If you want the slide deck, you don't have to make it cute or anything. Just say, send me the deck. I'll send it to you. If you're on LinkedIn, that's who I am. Thank you, guys.
Michelle.
I'll see you at the book signing.